เรียนท่านอธิการบดีท่านคณะบดีคณาจารย์และผู้เข้าร่วมฟังบรรยายพิเศษทุกท่านค่ะขอต้อนรับเข้าสู่การบรรยายพิเศษในหัวข้อ The Transition to a System of Wood Building and Restore Forest และความเป็นไปได้ในการสร้างความร่วมมือด้านการวิจัยค่ะดิฉันภัสนีวรชนะนันท์ทำหน้าที่พิธีกรในวันนี้ค่ะขณะนี้ถึงเวลาอันสมควรแล้วจะขออนุญาตกราบเรียนเชิญท่านคณบดีคณะวรรณศาสตร์เข้ากล่าวเปิดการประชุมค่ะขอบคุณค่ะ Ladies and gentlemen, we are now going to listen to the welcome remark delivered by the Dean of Faculty of Forestry. Please welcome Assistant Professor Dr. กอบศักดิ์วรรณธงชัย
ต้อนรับนะไม่ใช่เปิดหยิบผิดนะหยิบผิดผมกล่าวเปิดไม่ใช่โอ้ยไม่ใช่แฟ้มของท่านที่กอบอยู่ไหนผมสั้นๆไม่มีแฟ้มเดี๋ยวนะคะLet's take the fully informed President of เกษตรศาสตร์ University Dr. จงรักวชิริรัตน์ and let's take fully those who attend the event both in the conference room and online system. So on behalf of the organizers of the special lectures consisting of the Faculty of Forestry, Faculty of Engineering, Faculty of Environment and Faculty of Architecture, it is a great honor to welcome a delegation from the Swedish Embassy in Thailand and delegation from the Royal Thai Embassy in Stockholm, together with the partner who organized the Thailand and Sweden Sustainable Development Forum 2023, which is the activity to promote the cooperation between Thailand and Sweden. To jointly push forward the mission of the cities to be the sustainable and the forest produce concrete results. It is the exchange of information, knowledge, and feasibility study to develop cooperation with the relevant sectors of Thailand, including the public, private, academics, and civil society sectors. This year's theme, Thailand-Sweden Sustainable Week, held between 16 to 22nd March of this year. By organizing this event, it was an honor from the President of เกษตรศาสตร์ University to give an opening remarks and special lectures on forestry, sustainability, and the mission of เกษตรศาสตร์ University. Today is another activity in Thai-Swedish Sustainability Week. There was a special lecture on the transition to system of wood building and restore forest, the possibilities for research and collaboration from representatives from the Swedish University of Agriculture Science or SLU, Luleå University of Technology, and the Eco Innovation Foundation of Sweden, and the representative from Faculty of Forestry who exchanged knowledge and participated in lecture on topics Thailand and its readiness to adapt to the high-value wood industry with innovation. On this occasion, I would like to thank all sectors involved in organizing the event once again. And the next, I would like to invite the President of เกษตรศาสตร์ University to open remarks and further special lecture. Thank you very much.
ลำดับต่อไปขอเรียนเชิญท่านอธิการบดีมหาวิทยาลัยเกษตรศาสตร์กล่าวเปิดการบรรยายพิเศษค่ะ Ladies and gentlemen, we are now going to listen to the opening speech delivered by our President of เกษตรศาสตร์ University. Please welcome Dr. จงรักวชรินทร์รัตน์
มืดนะ
เ
สวัสดีครับ Good morning. Gatesat University is honored to welcome a delegation from Sweden to share their experience in forestry, management of forest ecology, design of wooden buildings, and construction of wooden structures. Representative from the Swedish University of Agriculture Science, SLU, Luleå University of Technology and the Eco Innovation Foundation of Sweden were honored to attend the special lecture today. Special thanks also go to the Embassy of Sweden in Thailand and the Thai Embassy in Sweden, which jointly organized the event for urban development innovation system creation, enhancing the quality of life of worker, forest rehabilitation and forest restoration from Sweden model that focus on the coexisting between human and nature according to the Sustainable Development Goal SDGs of the United Nations. Gatesat University is the institute with a determination to accumulate, seeks and development knowledge to know in wisdom that complete with academics, ethics and moral, as well as being a guide to inherit the good intention of the society of existence, prosperity and civilization of the nation. Actually, I just announced Gatesat University would like to have the carbon neutrality in 2035. Actually, the Thai government announced is 2050s, but because of Gatesat has a very familiar with the sustainabilities and has many innovation and technology, and also we have the advantage because we have the forest. We have a forest land is around more than 2,000 hectares is a forest. And also we have more than 1,000 hectares is the green area, including agricultural areas. So if we can add the carbon absorption from that forest and try to manage that sustainable forest in Gatesat University and decrease some from the use of the energy and transportation. And also we try to manage the behavior of the student and the teacher. So I think we can make it balanced for carbon neutrality in 2035 because we are very keen in sustainability. We talk about the sustainability for 80 years. So let's work together to be the carbon neutrality universities. And also we can be the role model for Thai societies. So I think the Sweden agency that come to Thailand today is maybe share the experience with us, because I know your country is one of the country that keen in sustainability and forest-based economics. So we can learn and share from you. Of course, Gatesat University do not only aim to be the leading research university, but we focus on research to create the well-being of the people in the country. We collaborate with the community and create well-being life and sustainable happiness. So sometimes Thai Gatesat try to exhibit the happiness in the university. So we try to support the professors, the student to have the happy life in the university. So we exhibit the green area. We exhibit the place that the people can come to university and try to have the exercise and playing the sport and make some game and learn a lot in the university. So today is special lecture on the topics of transition to the system of wood building and restore the forest. The possibilities for research collaboration by experts from Sweden to the Jongrak Channun conference room, not my name, but the old professor. Faculty of Forest Kseth Sat Unit. This event was organized by collaboration with the Faculty of Engineering. So thank you very much. Faculty of Architecture, Faculty of Environment, and Faculty of Forestry. This is the concept of the integrated work and knowledge under the concept of holistic economics development, or BCG model, the circular, the green, and also the bioeconomy. To respond to the well-being of the community by create a model for resource-based development for a result that aim to improve the quality of life of the people. When talking about the forest sustainability and the mission of the Kseth Sat, it can say that Kseth Sat is one of the institute that cultivate the important personnel who help develop the country resource base in land, water, and air. Actually, the Thailand has a lot of the area that we use that area for agriculture. More than 50% is the agricultural land. Of course, we try to exhibit the sustainability for agricultural land, but sometimes it cannot. So in my opinion, if we can change from agriculture to the forest base, like agroforestry, or the integrated agricultural lands, or sometimes like a mixed plantation or mixed crop together, maybe it can be the sustainabilities. So I think you can see that if there are collaboration from all parties in pushing the economics wood to be developed sustainably, there will be the very high probability for success. Kseth Sat University is pleased to be chained, linking knowledge, distribution and transfer, including rising the level of forest utilization with guideline concept and network that Kseth Sat University has at full capacity. Actually, you know that my house is established by the 100% of wood. From the teak plantation, I estimate the house quite a bit, not big, but consume a lot of time and the money a lot. And also the problem when we estimate the house from the wood is the termite and fungi. So could you please share the experience from termite and the fungi? Actually, so my house also has that problem. So you can share the experience with me how to protect the termite and the fungi. I know in Sweden there is no fungi, no the termite much, a bit. So, but the problem is our country is fungi and termite. So if we cannot take care of the house, maybe destroy all, even the tick. So I would like to share the experience. Anyhow, this special lecture by the group and expert from Sweden will help us learn together and derive success lesson from case study in looking at the dimension of timber utilization that affect to country development based on forest restoration. So thank you very much for coming and welcome to Kseth Sat University. I hope to have collaboration with you. ขอบคุณครับ
Thank you very much, Dr. Jongrak Wacharinrat. And to present the ceremony gift, we would like to invite all of our keynote speaker to the stage. Please welcome Mr. Aaron Kaplan. Please. บนเวทีเลยค่ะอาจารย์ เดี๋ยวมอบของที่ระลึกกันค่ะ โอเคค่ะ เดี๋ยวจะมอบเลยไหมหรือว่าจะขึ้นปฏิบัติ next Next, please welcome Dr. Anna Lina Go to go to the stage to get the ceremony gift from our president. Please.
Ja, ja, alla ska få från president.
โรซ่าหายค่ะ Next, we would like to welcome Dr. Rosa Goodman to get the ceremonial gift from our president.
Yeah, well, we didn't know.
ค่ะและขอเรียนเชิญคุณดลวีค่ะจากสถานทูตค่ะขึ้นรับค่ะลำดับต่อไปจะเป็นการถ่ายรูปหมู่ค่ะขอเรียนเชิญท่านคณบดีท่านรองคณบดีท่านผู้แทนหน่วยงานนะคะจากคณะสิ่งแวดล้อมคณะสถาปัตยกรรมศาสตร์แล้วก็คณะวิศวกรรมศาสตร์นะคะท่านอาจารย์วิวัฒน์แล้วก็ท่านหัวหน้าภาควิชาค่ะขอเรียนเชิญค่ะเชิญท่านรองอธิการค่ะเมื่อกี้บอกแล้วผู้แทนไม่เจอสถาปัตย์ ค ค่ะลำดับต่อไปจะเป็นการบรรยายพิเศษในหัวข้อ The Transition to a System of Wood Building and Restore Forest The Possibility for Research Collaboration Ladies and gentlemen, now we have come to our main agenda, the special lecture section. Please welcome our keynote speaker, Mr. Aaron Kaplan, Dr. Anna Lina Go, and Dr. Rosa Goodman. Please. ค่ะดิฉันจะขออนุญาตแนะนำประวัติโดยย่อของวิทยากรทั้ง3ท่านนะคะท่านแรกมิสเตอร์อารันคราเพนนะคะท่านจบด้านธุรกิจระหว่างประเทศนะคะการพัฒนาเมืองอย่างยั่งยืนและการเป็นผู้ประกอบการโดยท่านเป็นที่ปรึกษาทางธุรกิจให้กับบริษัทในอุตสาหกรรมต่างๆมากมายโดยในปีพุทธศักราช 2551 ท่านได้เริ่มทำงานในธุรกิจเครือข่ายในสต็อกโฮล์มคลีนเทคนะคะที่เป็นธุรกิจที่เน้นในกลุ่มของ SME ท่านทำหน้าที่เป็นผู้นำในการพัฒนาเมืองสีเขียวในประเทศสวีเดนนะคะปัจจุบันท่านเป็นผู้ก่อตั้งแล้วก็เป็นผู้จัดการของ Eco Innovation Foundation ซึ่งอยู่บนพื้นฐานความเชื่อที่ว่าการแก้ปัญหาความท้าทายในยุคของเราไม่ว่าจะเป็นในเรื่องของการเปลี่ยนแปลงสภาพภูมิอากาศความเสื่อมโทรมของระบบนิเวศและความยากจนควรที่จะต้องขึ้นอยู่กับผู้ประกอบการท้องถิ่นและการพัฒนาเมืองอุตสาหกรรมดังนั้นท่านจึงนำความเชี่ยวชาญทางด้านการทำป่าไม้อย่างยั่งยืนการพัฒนาเมืองอย่างยั่งยืนและนวัตกรรมที่เป็นมิตรกับสิ่งแวดล้อมมาใช้ในการแก้ไขปัญหาขอเรียนเชิญค่ะ Please welcome Mr. Aaron Krapen
It works. Hi, everybody. I'm very happy to be here. My name is Aaron Kaplan, as you've heard. And I want to start by thanking everybody. And I won't go into all the names and everything, but we're very grateful for the Royal Thai Embassy of Stockholm, who has been very, very good in making this happen. And it's a very nice story so far. This week has been so far fantastic, and it's not over yet. We will see and meet more people and trying to make exchange with the industry, both building and forest and everything in between, and also now, of course, with the university and the academic world. So without further ado, I'll start. And my role here is really, I'm part of the Eco Innovation Foundation. We're a small nonprofit think tank, you could say. And our original mission is to restore the forests. Because as you all know, and I'm happy to be in an audience that we don't have to explain everything about forests, there is a big problem with huge areas of devastated forests over the past 100 years of industrialization all over the world. So that's our original mission. From there, of course, we found ourselves talking about the climate and forests seen through a climate solution. And from there, that brought us to the cities. So this talk will really center around the triad of city, forest, climate. And we'll go into this a little bit. Now, let's see if I understand how to use this. City, forest, climate. Climate solutions need to be systemic. And one of the big problems today is that they're not really thought of or talked of in that manner. Everybody now is saying that we want climate neutrality or carbon neutrality from a sector point of view or maybe a company point of view or even a country point of view. And it often does not suffice. It's not enough. And we think we have one solution that actually is systemic. And this makes us very happy. So let's talk a little bit, very short, about the climate. I think you all know this curve by now. This is the way the ppm has been going since we started measuring, basically. And as you can see, this curve is very alarming. It's very stable in an upward slope over the years up until now. So, and just to put it in a little perspective from my personal point of view, somewhere around here, 1992 is when I started business school in Stockholm, and I became interested in sustainability. from various points of view, of course, and I learned about the greenhouse effect and the climate. And in 1992 was the same year that the United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change was started. So that's basically when the UN and the world acknowledged that the greenhouse effect was a problem, that the climate was an existential threat coming towards us. The science was clear. It was actually clear long before that, but that's when the UN ratified it, so to say. That was in 92. I finished business school a little late. I wasn't a very good student, and I started working in the year 1999, something like that, and I was still interested in these problems and looking for solutions and reading a lot and trying to get involved. And in 1997, the Kyoto Protocol came. The slope still going upward. And in 2005, of course, we had the Paris Agreement here, and the slope is still going upward. And, well, we had the pandemic where everything slowed down to a halt all over the world, and you can't even notice a change in the curve. Carbon emissions seems to be extremely stable. And we're moving into very alarming territory. You know this. We're going towards, at the least, 4 or 5 degrees by the year 2100. That kind of temperature increase is a global mean. For Sweden, which is up towards the Arctic, that actually means double or triple. So the Swedish forests are now facing 10 degrees on average over the year increase in only 80 years from now. And in Sweden, trees grow 4 or 5 times slower than here. So a cycle of a tree growth in Sweden is 80 years or 100 years. So consider that and consider a 10 degrees increase. And you're foresters here, you know about the ecology. Has any ecosystem ever adapted to that? I don't think so. So the Swedish forest industry and the Swedish academics are really alarmed now. They're really thinking hard of what to do. But this is, of course, a problem all over the world. We're all in the same boat. This is not a developing country problem. It's not an industrial country problem. It's really all of us. So we need to think systemic. And just to make a last point about this curve is that it's deceptive. It looks very stable, like someone is controlling it, that it's happening in the same way all over, but it's actually quite wrong. If you look at this curve, somewhere in the late 90s is where Europe started deindustrializing, moving from heavy industry, like the coal and steel industry and all these things, which accounted for most of the, all the way up into the late 90s, it was all the Western industrialized world that was responsible for these emissions. I'm completely, I'm being very broad now. But after 1999, the Europe actually has gone this way in emissions. It hasn't increased all that much. And the US has been quite stable, and even now in the past couple of years has gone down in terms of emissions. But what happened was, of course, China. China industrialized. The Chinese example is mind-boggling. 40-fold GDP increase since the mid-90s. 40-fold in a country of that size. Of course, when we talk about carbon neutrality, and Sweden and Europe and all countries say we want to become neutral by 20-something, so far this has been talked about in a production sense. What you emit from your country. But of course it doesn't really matter if Sweden exchanges its production footprint for a consumption footprint. If we buy everything from China instead of producing it ourselves, and China produces based on coal, that's even worse. It's the same for Germany, it's the same for Britain, it's the same for all these countries. We just basically exchanged our footprint for a footprint in China. The climate is the same bathtub all over. It's just being filled. 50 gigaton equivalents per year. So we can't talk about this in that way anymore. We have to start talking about the consumption footprint. And that's quite radical. Nobody's doing that. But we know that as this problem increases, we have to. At some point, everybody has to say, okay, we have to talk about consumption. So what we need, of course, is we need the Chinese example in more places, in India, in Africa. But we can't do it the same way. They need prosperity. We need living standards. People have to eat. People have to have a good life everywhere. But we can't do it based on coal, chemical fertilizers, cement, steel. That kind of industry can no longer be replicated. We need a different type of growth so that we can bend the curve. We need to bend the curve. So we have to be smart together. That's what I wanted to say about the climate. Now something about the city. The city looks like this. This is what it's grown to become during the 1900s. This is what we have learned to be something good. This is development. This is high standards. This is education. This is modern. But at this age that we're in now, I think everybody is starting to realize that this is not modern anymore. This is not good. This is a concrete city. It's congested. It has a huge carbon footprint. So we're talking now about the green city, the walking city, the bio-based city. These are the new concepts. This is what we're striving for. The natural city, the healthy city. So we can't do this anymore. We have to move away. And to really see why we have to move away from this, let's look at this. So this is the carbon footprint of building, of construction. The carbon footprint says that overall construction accounts for about 40% of all total emissions. It's huge. This is a major thing. And of those 40%, if we take away the heating and the cooling, the operating energy, the transports, we're left with the materials. The materials stand for somewhere between 10 and 13%. 10 to 13% of all emissions in the world are concrete, aluminum, some plastics, steel. So that's what we're focusing on. We can't solve 100% of this right here and now, but we can look at these 10%. And also we need to take into account how much new construction we're looking at. There's a big world out there, and it's been urbanizing like crazy since the mid-1800s. Now, of course, urbanizing is going on and predicted in all places of the world. Africa, the last one out. They haven't urbanized the way that the rest of the world has been doing, but they're definitely going there. They're going in the same direction. And all the plans that we see now are all based on concrete. They're taking the model from the West, and now, of course, from Asia, from China, and they're just doing the same thing. So all this building, all these, on this side of the scale are all the plans. That's all the projections for what is to be built. And on the left side is what has already been built. And you can see in total, we're looking at a doubling of the built area over the next 40 years. So what has been built since the mid-1800s will now be doubled in just 40 years. It's fantastic. That means that people will have better lives, be educated, live modern, and so forth, but it just can't be with the carbon intensity that we had over the last 100 years. It has to be something completely different. We're all for urbanization, we're all for modern lifestyles and so forth, but it has to be something new. If we double the area and we have 10% even now, that will increase. So let's say something about the forest. I don't have to explain this too much because you all know what has been going on. Since the advent of industrialization, of course, deforestation has been exactly the same slope. Deforestation and land use change, forest degradation. I think today we have a third of all original forest cover pre-industrial level is gone. And of the remaining 2/3, I think 60% is considered degraded. It's a huge loss of natural capital that has been going on. And it started in the West. You know, there was in Sweden, we have a great example in Sweden. 100 years ago, we had deforestation and degradation. I mean, the same thing, exactly the same law. If you look at the old historical records of what went on, we had insecure tenure rights. There was no value on the natural forest. People just took the logs. There was no replanting. There was no legislation. There was, you know, the same things that we see in the developing countries today. And of course, that changed. So today, Sweden has doubled its forest area and so forth. But that is something for Anna-Lena to talk about. That's not my area. But my only point here is that this is what it looks like today. And I think it accounts historically for about 30% of the emissions going into the climate debt that we have today. So we have to do something. We can't go on like this. We can't treat the forest like this anymore. At this point, everything is dark and gloomy and very depressing, right? The cities are not good. The forests are not good. The curve is going upward. And we're approaching a complete collapse as a civilized world. But at that point, we have to start thinking about opportunities. We have to look at big opportunities, systemic opportunities, and we have to think that we're actually humans, we're creative, we can do things. So let's look at the opportunity of the forests, or of the landscapes rather. I don't know if you've seen this map, if it's part of the curriculum, but this is the opportunity map for restoration. And this was developed about 10 years ago. The initiative taken by a colleague of ours in the Eco-Innovation Foundation. We're very proud to say that. He was then working at the World Resources Institute. And he had been traveling all over the world, looking and talking and working within the forests. And he was seeing all these landscapes all over the world that were not used, that had been forests, that had been degraded or destroyed, and they weren't being used for anything. And he called them non-forests or unforests. You know, all these, he was, you know, riding through landscapes and there was nothing happening there. So he was very curious about how big is this portion of the world that has been deforested that could be restored without infringing on habitats, without infringing on agriculture. So they made this map. This is from satellite. And this has been refined since then, of course. But this is, the dark green are opportunities for wide-scale restoration, really recreating intact forests. The light green are opportunities for mosaic restoration. So different models of combinations of intact forests, agroforestry, you know, but quite a lot of trees in the landscape. And the yellow are opportunities for more trees in the agricultural landscapes for the benefit of those landscapes. So this is the opportunity map, and it sums to 2 billion hectares. 2 billion hectares is about 1/6 of the world's land mass. It's a huge opportunity. And this is without competing with human habitat or with agriculture. On the contrary, it's actually enhancing and benefiting agriculture to get more trees, and you know this. So this is a huge opportunity. Oh, sorry. And instead of this, we could have this. And this is an opportunity that really we learned about just over the past 10 years. We learned that we can build urban buildings for many families, all out of wood. The structures, everything, the flooring, the staircases, all the details can be made out of wood or bamboo or bio-based. And this is just an example from Sweden. Anna-Lena will show more examples. This house is actually, it's not a very expensive living. This is a rental for normal people. And it's over the year, it's carbon positive. So it has solar, it has battery storage. In Sweden, of course, heating is the problem, but it's the same thing for cooling. So there's geothermal and that kind of thing. And all the materials have been selected to be positive for the ecosystems. And still, they can keep it at a cost that is, affordable. I would rather live here. I think this is the future. So, to create this connection between the cities and the forests, restoration and bio-based building, we need an industrial system. We need something in between. And this is a huge opportunity for a new industry. So we will hear the Swedish example, which is based on something that was already big and was kind of added on, but it's still an interesting example. But we can also see in this case that this can grow from a very small scale, as long as you have good cutting, good drying, controlled drying. Of course, for construction, it's necessary. And then you can add on the lamination and those parts. And you can actually start quite small investments. It's not rocket science. And you can create something like this based on different models, depending on the local situation. If it's a sustainable plantation model, if it's agroforestry, and even if it's natural forest management. I know that's prohibited here, but I think the world needs to go there. In a sustainable way, of course. You can restore the landscapes and build a system out of this. And this is another way of looking at it. I think the important points here that we should keep in mind is to take the chance and integrate the different parts of the landscape. Not just think about monoculture plantations. They have their place, fast growing and so forth. But so does woodlots, agroforestry, and also the natural forest. Don't forget about the natural forest. This is a great opportunity to restore natural forest in and around all these models, and even as the main resource base. As you know, in Sweden, that is the resource base. It's a semi-natural forest. So there's a lot of models here. And organize the smallholders, make them connected into the industrial system. Timber is a great industry to be in if you create something valuable locally, not just export the logs. And of course, here in the middle, we can see the main components of the industry. You have the cutting, the drying, the lamination, very simplified, of course, but that's basically what is needed. And then, of course, we need to think about the 50% or so of all the material that becomes residue. That's part of the industrial system. And that, of course, can become energy. It can become biochar to enhance the farming soils. Very effective. And a lot has been done now in the past 10 years. Very interesting experiments have been done. And so this has to be part of the equation. We can create local grids based on this for electrifying villages, that kind of thing. Biochar, electricity, charcoal, going into high-quality building systems for the city. And this is the last slide. So let's go back to what the president of Kasetsart said that he's looking to try to be carbon neutral by 2035. And I think that's an excellent platform to start from. When companies and universities and countries around the world are making these pledges or having these strategies, that means they've understood that this is the way the world has to go. And to add on to what he's saying, I think that we need to, when we talk about carbon neutrality, as I said in the beginning, we need to think systemically. So we need to immediately think of our operation as part of a system. So how is Kasetsart part of the system as a whole? Of course, in Thailand, you can grow forests very fast. You have the world's best growing conditions. It's fantastic. So if you just look at that system, yes, you're probably carbon positive today. We don't have to wait to 2035. I don't know, you know this better than me, but we visited some areas and it's just amazing how you can grow. From Sweden, we're very impressed. But it's not the system, right? How is this used? And what is it substituting? That is what we need to think about. And of course, the system gets bigger and bigger and bigger. And at the end, we have to think globally. So this is the new perspective. So if we look at this, we can see the present state, a concrete city, just as I showed before, and we have a degraded landscape that we have 1/6 of the world's landmass. And we have very little industry connection in between. Very little. In this picture, there's none, and that's often the case. So we want a transition to this. And this can become quite fast, this tradition. And what we do here is we add the industrial system in between. Once we add this, we can incentivize the farmers to grow more trees because it is value added to a much higher extent locally. You create not just boards, you create components. Components that can be engineered, that can be calculated, that can be part of city structures like this. And piece by piece you create the wood city. And over time, of course, you see the carbon stored in the city is very little because it's a concrete city. So the storage, the sink, increases over time to this, where we have a carbon stored in the structures of the city and all the materials of the city. And of course, we create the doubling of all the built area. This is a huge carbon sink. And over time, of course, we create the same in the forest, sequestration at a much higher extent in the natural forests, in the soils, and in the landscapes as a whole. So over time, in only 80 years in Sweden, here it could be faster, but of course we know that building a city and growing forests is something slow, but still, we talk about 80 years. That's up until 2100. It's not very long. We can go gradually, piece by piece, building by building, forest area by forest area, we can transition to this. And that's a huge climate solution. And let's just, before I end, I want to say something about permanence or quality, because now there's a lot of talk about debate and criticism about carbon projects in the forest. I'm sure you've read about this and heard about this. That, there are projects now with contracts of 20 years and 30 years where basically you're promised that this forest will grow for 30 years and you get carbon credits. And there's a rightly so a criticism of this. How can you guarantee that this forest will stand after 30 years? If the landscape around it is slash and burn and a lot of take of timber for cooking and that kind of thing, well, of course, after 30 years, it'll just be cut down. So how can this be a climate solution? And the same thing for the cities. There's a lot of criticism about, well, what a wood building could burn, right? And then it's concrete again. So how can you say that this is a climate solution? What I want to focus on here is the systemic nature of this. If we create this industrial system, if we educate the architects, if we have entrepreneurs in all the parts of the system, the energy part, the lamination part, the sawmilling part, organizing the smallholders, structural engineers learning how to design buildings out of wood, the whole industry, construction companies learning how to assemble a building and deassemble it in wood instead of concrete. If you gradually build this system, it means that, okay, so of course, a house can be demolished because the city is, of course, a metabolism. It changes over time. Redesigning the city, taking down buildings, erecting new buildings in different places, so forth. Yes, that will happen. But if the system is there, the new buildings will be out of wood. So gradually, the concrete city, over time, piece by piece, district by district, turns into wood. So the system as a whole, on a city scale, long term, is a very, very permanent and secure storage. It's as secure as human civilization, basically, if this is the prevailing system. The same thing in the forest. Of course, a forest can burn. It can be felled by storm. That's natural. But if we have this system all the time over a landscape scale, over time, those trees will be replanted. So over time, landscape scale, that is a very secure storage, given that we have this system. So the system creates incentives to always maintain the system. So we have to shift from being locked in the concrete deforestation cycle into the system of reforestation, restoration, and bio-based. And I think we have a pretty good solution then. That's what I want to end with. And now we will hear a little bit about the Swedish example. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Aaron. ค่ะมิสเตอร์ Aaron นะคะก็ได้พูดถึงความสัมพันธ์ระหว่างการพัฒนาเมืองป่าไม้แล้วก็การเปลี่ยนแปลงสภาพบรรยากาศนะคะว่าปัจจุบันเนี่ยเราประสบปัญหาด้านการเปลี่ยนแปลงสภาพบรรยากาศนะคะแล้วก็การพัฒนาเมืองนะคะที่เป็นในรูปแบบของการใช้คอนกรีตเป็นหลักนะคะซึ่งก่อให้เกิดปัญหานะคะส่งผลกระทบต่อการเปลี่ยนแปลงสภาพบรรยากาศมากมายจากการปล่อยฟุตปรินท์นะคะดังนั้นในส่วนของโอกาสนะคะในการดำเนินงานนะคะก็คือในส่วนของที่เราเห็นนะคะก็คือร้อยละนะคะของป่าไม้ที่สามารถที่จะดำเนินการฟื้นฟูได้นะคะแล้วก็การใช้ไม้นะคะเป็นวัสดุในการก่อสร้างนะคะเพราะฉะนั้นในส่วนของการดำเนินงานนะคะการเปลี่ยนแปลงระบบในการดำเนินงานในการอุตสาหกรรมไม้นะคะไม่ว่าจะเป็นในด้านของการปลูกการตัดการแปรรูปนะคะจะเห็นได้ว่าประเทศสวีเดนเนี่ยมีการเปลี่ยนแปลงนะคะโดยการนำตัวระบบนะคะในอุตสาหกรรมป่าไม้เนี่ยเข้ามาใช้นะคะโดยการที่มีการพัฒนาองค์ความรู้นะคะทางด้านวิศวกรรมศาสตร์สถาปัตยกรรมศาสตร์ด้านพลังงานนะคะเข้ามาใช้เพราะฉะนั้นองค์ความรู้เหล่านี้ค่ะก็สามารถที่จะใช้นะคะในการช่วยนะคะเป็นกลไกหนึ่งนะคะที่จะสามารถที่จะช่วยในการแก้ไขปัญหาในการเปลี่ยนแปลงสภาพบรรยากาศได้นะคะค่ะลำดับต่อไปนะคะจะเป็นวิทยากรอีกท่านหนึ่งนะคะ Please welcome Dr. Anna Lina Gau นะคะขออนุญาตแนะนำประวัติของท่านโดยคร่าวๆนะคะดร. Anna Lina Gau จบการศึกษาทางด้านเทคโนโลยีทางไม้นะคะแล้วก็มีประสบการณ์มากกว่า20ปีในอุตสาหกรรมผลิตไม้แล้วก็อุตสาหกรรมก่อสร้างนะคะปัจจุบันท่านทำงานทางด้านการออกแบบการวางระบบการผลิตไม้ที่ Ruhr University of Technology แล้วก็มีส่วนร่วมในโครงการ Greenfield Factories นะคะซึ่งเป็นตำแหน่งล่าสุดของท่านนะคะก็คือเป็นผู้จัดการโครงการนะคะในการจัดตั้งสถานที่ผลิตไม้ลามิเนตนะคะแล้วก็ดูแลเกี่ยวกับระบบการตลาดแล้วก็การขายของเซียตรานะคะซึ่งเป็นหนึ่งในบริษัทป่าไม้ที่ใหญ่ที่สุดในประเทศสวีเดนนะคะแล้วก็ปัจจุบันนะคะท่านสนใจเกี่ยวกับธุรกิจในอุตสาหกรรมไม้แล้วก็การก่อสร้างค่ะ Please welcome Dr. Anna Lina Gau please
Okay, thank you. So I will be sharing a short history of how the industrial development has been in Sweden for the past years. We'll start with an introduction on the forest landscapes and forest production, and then talk a little bit about the forest-based construction industries that we have. Me, myself, have been working for 20 years within the industry and have now started a PhD position at the University of Technology in Luleå to investigate this further. Oh, so starting with the Swedish forests, some basic facts. For you, 70% of the surface of Sweden is covered by forests. It has not been like that all the time, but we have had an intense reforestation during the past 100 years in Sweden. And 75% of the forest area is managed. It's productive and used for construction and building materials. 1% of the forest is cut every year, and that is 70% of the annual growth, meaning that the volume of the forest is increasing every year. We're not cutting more than what is grown in the forests. And we also have a law in Sweden that when you're doing fellings, you have to replant, and usually it's 2 to 3 trees per each tree that has been felled, and this is also followed by all. And the Swedish wood industry has an annual production about 19 million cubic meters, and 85% of that is exported. 60% is pine and 40% is spruce, so we have a rather monocultural forest in Sweden. There are over 100 active sawmills in Sweden. Over time, the amount has been reducing in favor of bigger sawmills. There are a handful of sawmills that cover most of the volume in Sweden today. And the sawmilling industry is using almost 100% domestic raw material, and it's also quite a usual business model that the forest owners are owning the sawmilling companies in corporations. The raw material base is divided in Sweden in 3 areas, and you have a little bit of different properties on the same species depending on where in Sweden it has been grown, and you also then get different markets and different products that you make out of the raw material. And the supply is quite short from the sawmills, 10 to 150 kilometers. Of course, in the north of Sweden, where there are not so many inhabitants or sawmills, then there's a bit longer distance. And there has been a good infrastructure built up during the last 100 years or so. So the challenges for the Swedish forest industries has been high dependence on volatile export markets, and since 85% of the products are exported, it's quite a risky business to be engaged with large volumes on countries or areas that are experiencing a war or other types of instability. And also that the exported goods is of rather low value. It's basically sawn timber that is exported. So not much value is added within Sweden on the exports. And then you have the societal challenge that Aron talked about earlier. It's the climate issues. And to join these two, then the industry has worked with a solution of wood building systems for quite some years now in Sweden, and then mainly industrial wood building systems. So at the time we have three main groups of industrial building systems in Sweden. You have the volumetric building, that is lightweight structures that are assembled to volumes and then put together on site, usually for multifamily housing, due to the geometrical properties of the volumes for transportation. That makes a very quick production phase. You have the mass timber systems, which I will talk a little bit more about in the coming of the presentation. That is based on CLT mainly, but also other types of engineered wood products. Those are getting more and more common at the moment, since then you can build large houses in quite complex geometrical formations. And you have a post-beam structure also for large buildings consisting of glulam, LVL, also CLT. So to have a look at CLT, because that has really been a change maker for the wood construction business in Sweden and the market. So the product itself was developed in the 90s in Austria as a cooperation between the university and the industry. It consists of glued parts that are glued together crosswise to increase the strength. And I just saw that you have made some testing on eucalyptus of this at your university as well. So this was basically an industry initiative to make use for the sideboards from the sawmilling to enhance the value of those products that you normally sell for packaging and other low profit businesses, and also damaged wood. And the CLT panels, just to explain for those that might not know it, they are then glued together into large boards in a factory. And in the end of the production, there's one or many parallel CNC machinery that cut the CLT boards into the right sizes for building elements, for unique building elements. And the CNC machine also drills holes and make fittings. So the finished elements are made with a precision of 1 to 2 millimeters, and the assembly on site, as you can see on the right-hand picture, is quick and easy due to the light weight, and also that it's a wood material, so you can use simple hand machines and light cranes for the assembly. And the global CLT market, the figures in the picture here represent the production capacity, but historically the production capacity has been equal to the market. It was developed in the 90s, as I said, but mostly used for single-family housing and small housing in the beginning. And when the material started being used for large housing, then the growth really took off. So from 2019 and on, a lot of investments were made in Sweden and the Nordic countries and now the past years there have been investments also in other parts of the world. Oh, sorry. And the Swedish CLT market development from one factory in 2003 with a really small capacity, a manual handling, 10,000 cubic meters. Some pioneers started working with this and imported the material from Central Europe. Did quite a hard work on establishing the market and increasing the know-how in the technical properties of the material. So now in 2020, I would say then CLT is considered a really good material for building high-rise buildings in Sweden, and you can then replace concrete blocks with CLT. And 2 years ago, 3 new production plants had been opened by the Swedish sawmilling industry. Had a really rapid growth then due to now being able to supply the construction sites locally with local material. Now we see a trend in Sweden that from being a industrial offering, this have become new types of businesses, framing contractors that are being specialized in wooden framing business. And this year, the total Swedish production capacity is up to 300,000 cubic meters of CLT, and most of it is sold on the Swedish market, the Swedish and Norwegian market. So from the past years, we have in the Nordic countries changed to building with wood to become sustainable. The sustainable solution has been to switch from concrete to wood in some projects. Now there's an increasing trend of optimizing these building systems to use less wood. That is then done by industry collaborations that develop new types of products that use less wood, and also products that increase the prefabrication and shorten assembly time. So this is a way for the industry to save money. The construction industry saves money for this, but at the same time, the sustainability is also increasing. So it's a win-win situation. So the shift in Sweden is now slowly changing from an inside-out perspective, where the industry had a problem and developed a product to solve that, now to the market, trying to find new solutions to become more efficient. And some examples of products that have been developed. On the left-hand side, you can see a prefabricated flooring slab that is glulam and CLT components that are glued together. They use less material, but also increase the span for the product. And on the right-hand side is one of many, many different types of fastening solutions for an effective assembly. So to sum up, I would say some lessons that we have learned in Sweden during these years, transitioning to the wood-based construction. The wood and forest industry have been very important for the market development. We have had the early years, there was a low market, no industry, and everyone were looking at each other who will start. The forest industry waited for the market, and the market waited for the products to be set on the market. But since the forest industry have invested a lot of money and time in the new types of production facilities, the market could then grow. We have had a lot of policy making in favor for wood in Sweden, but this started on a lower level, not governmental. It started by the municipalities making wood building strategies to promote wood as a building material, and one of the reasons for this is of course, is the climate issue, but another one is that these wood construction and wood industry companies are an important part of the GDP of Sweden. So by doing these strategies, they also make sure that the businesses are growing and that the tax money is coming to the municipalities. And the carbon dioxide discussion has been really a driver for growth the past 2 years in Sweden. In Sweden, at the moment, when you're building a new big, not single-family housing, but larger houses like multifamily houses, schools, or hospitals, you have to declare how much carbon dioxide you have used to that building. And we have no limits for it, but just by making the real estate developers declare that there has been an increased interest in changing for better products. And also during this development in Sweden, we took a product that originated from Central Europe, from Austria, and we have adapted it nationally by adapting the product itself to the Swedish raw material base, but also made some new products that are complementing the CLT. So that is really important has been really important for that. And also, as I said, the product has been changed. In Sweden, we have different properties on the same wood species as they have in Austria, which have given the opportunity for Swedish producers to increase the strength declarations for the finished product. So from being a product where they use the bad material to get a more high-valued product, we can now use better material to get a really engineered a good high-end product. So this was basically the things that I wanted to share, and as a summary, this is just lessons learned from Sweden. I know that Thailand has got really different prerequisites, but still the thing that I would like to leave with you is the lessons that we have learned is that it's good to start somewhere and start building, but then continuously develop the products and the business according to the local and national raw material base and the business and market demands for the country itself. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Anna Lina Gao. ค่ะก็ขออนุญาตสรุปนะคะก็คือมิสเตอร์แอนนาลีนาเนี่ยได้แนะนำนะคะเกี่ยวกับสถานภาพป่าของประเทศสวีเดนแล้วก็อุตสาหกรรมป่าไม้ของสวีเดนนะคะแล้วก็ได้บอกถึงความท้าทายนะคะว่ามีประเด็นความท้าทายอยู่2ด้านหลักๆก็คือในส่วนของด้านการตลาดแล้วก็มูลค่าในการส่งออกที่ยังต่ำอยู่นะคะเพราะฉะนั้นเนี่ยกลยุทธ์หนึ่งที่ทางประเทศสวีเดนใช้นะคะก็คือมีการนำองค์ความรู้นะคะมาใช้ในการปรับเปลี่ยนนะคะในการนำไม้ที่ไม่ดีเนี่ยนะคะมาทำการปรับเปลี่ยนใหม่นะคะแล้วก็สามารถที่จะทำให้เกิดวัตถุดิบอันใหม่นะคะสามารถที่จะแปรรูปแล้วก็ส่งออกได้มากขึ้นก็จะเป็นการเพิ่มแล้วก็พัฒนาช่องทางการตลาดอีกทางหนึ่งนะคะซึ่งในส่วนของตัวอย่างนะคะก็ได้มีการยกตัวอย่างนวัตกรรมนะคะที่ดำเนินการนะคะแล้วก็มีการถอดบทเรียนความรู้นะคะซึ่งก็จะมีบทเรียนความรู้หลักๆนะคะที่เกี่ยวข้องก็คืออุตสาหกรรมป่าไม้แล้วก็ไม้ของประเทศสวีเดนเนี่ยมีความสำคัญต่อการพัฒนาทางด้านการตลาดนะคะแล้วก็การสร้างนโยบายเนี่ยควรที่จะดำเนินการมาจากชุมชนเป็นหลักนะคะแล้วก็กลยุทธ์ทางด้านป่าไม้นะคะก็ช่วยให้เกิดการขับเคลื่อนนะคะความยั่งยืนทางด้านเศรษฐกิจนะคะแล้วก็ประเด็นในด้านของคาร์บอนไดออกไซด์นะคะที่จะเป็นตัวขับเคลื่อนให้เกิดการเจริญเติบโตทางด้านเศรษฐกิจอีกอันหนึ่งนะคะแล้วก็ในส่วนของการปรับตัวนะคะของคนในชาติก็จะส่งผลกระทบในส่วนของการประสบความสำเร็จในการดำเนินงานนะคะแล้วก็วัตถุดิบต่างๆนะคะไม่ว่าจะเป็นวัตถุดิบที่มีคุณภาพดีหรือไม่ดีก็สามารถที่จะนำมาใช้ในการพัฒนาผลิตภัณฑ์ได้นะคะลำดับต่อไปนะคะก็จะเป็นการบรรยายนะคะของดร. โรซา กูดแมนนะคะ Please welcome ดร. โรซา กูดแมนนะคะขออนุญาตแนะนำประวัติของท่านคร่าวๆนะคะท่านจบการศึกษาจากสาขาภูมิศาสตร์นะคะจาก University of Leeds ประเทศสหราชอาณาจักรนะคะปัจจุบันท่านเป็นอาจารย์อาวุโสค่ะในภาควิชา Forest Ecology and Management Swedish University of Agricultural Science นะคะท่านมีความเชี่ยวชาญในด้านของการวิเคราะห์ปัญหาจากมุมมองในหลากหลายมิตินะคะแล้วก็การวิเคราะห์ปัญหาเชิงพื้นที่การดำเนินการทางด้านบัญชีคาร์บอนจากการใช้ที่ดินการเปลี่ยนแปลงการใช้ประโยชน์ที่ดินและภาคป่าไม้นะคะนอกจากนั้นเนี่ยท่านยังเชี่ยวชาญทางด้านการทำแบบจำลองผลลัพธ์ของกิจกรรมการจัดการที่แตกต่างกันและด้านการอนุรักษ์ป่านะคะ Please welcome ดร. โรซา กูดแมน
Hello, thank you so much for having us. It's a real pleasure. So my name is Rosa Goodman. I think you already heard. I'm at SLU, which is like the Kasasart of Sweden. And I'm here with an agenda. So I want to get some feedback. So we're going to have a little bit of interactive participation. And also I'd really love to leave with some collaborations, at least potential. So I'm here to talk about the research and development behind the wood solution in Thailand. So thank you very much, Aaron, for setting us up with the wood solution, and Anna-Lena for giving us an industrial perspective, because this is, I would say, very new for an academic, at least for me. When I started working with business and industry, it was really a whole new world, and I find it very interesting, and I am always learning. So without further ado, okay, this is not. Is there just a delay? It's changed on the screen, but. Okay, great. How do we get it to change on the screen? Yeah. Anyway. Well, I can talk. So I want to just go back a little bit to, is that work? Ah, yes, good job, thank you. All right, so I just want to step back a little bit and tell you what I find is so fascinating about the wood solution and why. So Aaron presented in one of my classes 5 years ago, and I was sitting in the back thinking, oh my gosh, this is the best thing I've heard. Because I've worked in tropical forestry since I guess 15 years now. And what has always really bothered me is the fact that it's not really that sustainable. And even all these measures of sustainable forest management. And after my PhD, I worked a lot with NGOs like the Nature Conservancy and World Wildlife Fund on reduced impact logging and reduced impact logging for climate impacts and all these things, but it's basically just prolonging the agony of an unsustainable system. So the whole thing I have learned recently from eco-innovation is that the whole problem starts with standard dimensional lumber being the main product that is exported, which means you can only get really large, perfect logs, and then you are quite dependent on relatively pristine natural forests, and you take out all the biggest, best trees of just a few known species, and then you degrade the forests over time, and then when they're no longer valuable, then they're cleared for agriculture. So this is really the world that I've been working in for a long time, and then most of the value added is outside of the country of origin, which I think really needs to stop. So what is so exciting, there are two things that I really want to point out that are great about the wood solution. And one is that in the academic debates, we hear a lot about the potential of nature-based forest solutions and the potential of wood to be a climate-positive, sustainable building material. But here's the system that makes that happen. And the part that so many people are forgetting is the industry and the timber processing systems that link the forests and the cities. And that's where the eco-innovation and all our partners are really good at bringing this. So the system behind it that ensures positive outcomes. So you can see here, and the other magical part is that if you know your products in advance, then you can say, okay, so if we want a mass timber building, it's going to need a lot of wood, and there are a lot of different pieces. So then you can say, okay, so we want all these different pieces, and you know those products in advance, then you can look at your forest and say, okay, well, what do we have? And then you can process the timber accordingly. You can see you can custom cut to all different sizes and shapes, and then it's a much more efficient process. And what really you can do is you can start in degraded forests and restore them through management, which is a real paradigm shift for tropical forestry. And that's my, that's my big passion. And then also, working with industry yet again. The construction and engineering industry is a $10 trillion a year industry, which is way bigger than any carbon money out there, and way bigger than development aid, way bigger than way bigger than research projects. So this is a huge driver. And so what we're saying is if just 1% of this makes it back to the forest, it can incentivize sustainable forest management, which I think is achievable. And mind you, this number came from the old paradigm of forestry, not the new one, which actually creates value. So to show you here, so this is an analysis that we've done. If you take the same tree and you process it through the current timber industry, you lose 2/3 in the forest. You lose another 2/3 in the sawmill. The sawmill makes almost no money. And then the final manufacturer makes the most money here. Whereas in the integrated industry, if you use all parts of the wood, you know, there's better recovery of the wood. You can use charcoal. In the sawmill, you can use the biofuel to dry the kilns, to generate electricity, to run your equipment. So that's reducing costs. You can also sell that electricity or biofuel if you want. And the profit margins here are just astoundingly more. And then you can see even here, for the final manufacturer, since they're getting better quality and custom cut wood, they still make more. So it's better for everybody. And this here is the really big thing, that there's, if you give people a genuine incentive to restore and manage their forests sustainably, they're going to do it. And so what we need to do is create an industry that makes it easy for people to access and genuinely genuinely enticing to participate in. So that's what we're doing here. That's the big thing on my side that is so different from how everybody else is thinking. So, like I said, or I didn't say this yet before. So my goals, my career goals, and my role in all of this is I really want to serve as the link between the wood solution, eco-innovation, and industry. So obviously coordinate the research and well, at least the research behind that, facilitate collaboration, both, you know, I guess within Thailand, I probably don't have much of a role, but between Thailand and Sweden, between academia and industry. And then also it's a really big thing. And I used to try to pull people on board with the whole thing, and then I realized maybe it's a bit too much. So we can hold that big vision, of course, if you want to join us in the whole thing. We are more than happy to welcome you. But basically, we can hold the vision and all the pieces and let you all do what you're best at and what you're really interested in doing, and then put it together into the big system. I also really love developing project ideas. I'd say one of my superpowers is to take these really big, lofty ideas and then to bring them down into tangible steps and research projects. And then I also love writing grants. And I would super love to write some grants together. As I already said, my goals for the session are, as we've already done, plant the seeds of the wood solution in your mind and the possibility that we can restore natural forests through active management that includes timber harvest, though I know there will need to be some policy changes for that. And then, most of all, I would love to walk out of here with some feedback. So this is going to be an interactive session starting very soon, and then get a few ideas for potential collaboration. So that means I've noticed people have phones and computers around here. So if you could take out your phones and go to menti.com and type in this code, 6174-2690, then we can start getting feedback. So the first question, as you will see, is what was your main takeaway so far from all of this, from Aaron, from Anna-Lena, and then from me so far? And then, of course, what are the main barriers to implementation in your opinion? So yeah, this is my first chance to get some feedback. And as you're doing that, I will switch over to Menti and we can look at the answers. They are completely anonymous, so be as honest as you want. And I'm American, so not so easily offended, so say what you really want. Is it working for everybody? So if you don't have the code, it's up here always. And as soon as you press enter, we will see it for everybody. So menti.com 6174 2690. In English, please. I would appreciate. If you can't, I guess you can write in Thai, and I will translate later. Okay, yeah. Write in Thai if that's how you feel, if you feel much more comfortable. Thank you for everybody who has submitted so far. And go ahead and submit in Thai, and maybe our translator, our moderator can translate for us. And mind you, so your key takeaway, so the thing that hit you the most from the presentation so far.
ค่ะท่านที่อยู่ทางช่องทางออนไลน์นะคะสามารถที่จะเข้าไปที่ menti.com นะคะแล้วก็พิมพ์ข้อคำถามได้เลยนะคะภาษาไทยได้เลยค่ะเดี๋ยวเราจะมีทีมงานช่วยแปลให้นะคะ
Thank you. All right, so far, people think the perception of wood buildings is not as sustainable, not as stable. How to adapt Swedish forest management model for Thailand. It's a systemic solution. The wood solution is very interesting. I just wonder the long-term maintenance and durability of wood structure, especially in Thailand, which is hot and humid. The importance to rejuvenate Thai wood industry with innovative wood building products, new ways of building construction, the new holistic view of sustainable forest management and city planning. Okay, mostly about buildings so far. Ooh, local farmers earn good benefits from forest management to produce wood. Do people want a little more time on this, or should I move to the next one? Next one? Okay. You can still submit. Oh, here we go. Wood utilization policy is important. Yes, definitely. Okay. Oh, a new sustainable way of utilizing all parts of a tree. This way there is more value created, which also incentivizes the integrated value chain approach. Ooh, is that you, Aaron? Very good. All right. Thank you so much, everybody who answered. All right. Okay, so the main barriers to implementation now. This one should be easier. Surely you've thought of one criticism. One reason why this won't work, or it will be very hard. Okay, so we have climate, which again I think is related to the wood building, limited silvicultural knowledge among forestry students, okay? And I really like this one, national policy never develops from local need. So that's definitely something that we need to work on. Introducing this approach to an already established industry, as well as changing the perspective from people, collaboration from local economic possibilities, long-term maintenance and durability, financial feasibility. Yeah. Okay, so there are a few barriers here. I'll wait 20 more seconds, see if we get any more. So again, this is why you think it's going to be difficult to implement. And also, you can just leave Menti up on your phone or laptop, whatever you're using, and we will come back to it again. Okay, wood industry in Thailand has been halted by the protective government policy for 30 years. So the policy has changed, and now we need to get all the jigsaws in place. Yep, definitely. Long-term investment that normally ties, many Thais are not interested. Okay, thank you very much for this feedback. We have a live. It's basically a concert here, okay. How do we show the presenter view? Oh, well, okay, I guess we can keep this. Okay, so as we can see, there are many challenges and barriers to implementation. So that's what research and development is for. And it's really, I think about it in terms of where we are today, in terms of our landscape, our industry, and our building systems, and then where we want to go. Which means that we need to design a system that works, so there are a few things to figure out, or many things to figure out, and we need to model different scenarios and then pick the best one before we implement at scale. We also need to estimate the outcomes to either prove that it works or make some modifications to make sure that it does have these positive outcomes that we're looking for. And then, and as Annalena pointed out, this is really important for changing policy. So if we can have a pilot project that is really working, then we can take that to policymakers, and we'll hold Don Rui on the hook for that. Oh, can you fix this for me? No, it's not. Sorry, I'm so troubled. Oof, there we go, nice. All right, so here are just a few topics that our colleague at Eco-Innovation and I have come up with. So these are all the things that we need research and development on, though surely it is not comprehensive. So then, I don't think all of it is necessarily for academics. We also have architects, engineers, industrial developers, business, and then also there could be a lot of collaboration, in this audience particularly between academia and those actors. But I want to leave this up for a second. We'll see if this is possible. You can see there's a lot on forestry, soils, wood properties, and product development, timber processing systems, economics. I don't know if in this university you have forest policy and governance, economics, all sorts of things. So if you can look through this, then go to menti.com. Again, same thing. And I want to know, one, what we're missing, if you can see anything here that we've left out, and then, perhaps getting more exciting, where you see yourself in this. So I want to get a read of where people are at, or what you're experts in. So now I'm going to have to mess up this whole thing again. All right, so, yeah. Oh, sorry. Oh, okay. Actually, this is great. So if you go back to menti.com, I might need to leave this up, actually. Menti, if you still have it up, it should have what aspects of research and development are we missing. So again, the code is 61742690. And as soon as we get some answers, I'll switch it over. Yeah, or has everybody read this already? Oh, there are two. What on earth? Yeah, can you help me? Okay, engineering aspect, policy and urban forestry, pest control, durability of wood structure, timber harvesting. Okay, excellent. Since we spent so long on that, let's go to the next one. So now we're going to make a word cloud, which is the fun part. So I'd really love everybody to participate in this. Where you see yourself contributing, like where your area of expertise is. It could be on plantation management, agroforestry, wood properties, so we can get a read for the room. Product development. Excellent. Thank you, everybody. Keep them coming. Action with local communities, urban forest development, local policy. Right. We're not getting any overlap yet, which is quite fun. Smallholder organization. New ideas to doing. Ooh, I love it. Biodiversity. Governance, agroforestry. Ooh, 2 for silviculture now. That's good for a forestry department. Adaptive forest management, educating the younger generation. These are all good things. Plantation management, long-term durability. Fantastic. I'll stick with this for another 30 seconds. Science, governance, very good. All right. Fantastic. Thank you. A lot of these, all these skills are very needed, so that's wonderful. And I'm happy to see a lot of silviculture. What else do we have? What else do we have? Working. All right, so now I just want to give an example of a couple of my research projects just to give you an idea of what this looks like. So this is a photo from Mozambique in Miombo Forest where most of our work is right now, most of my research. So the first grant was funded by the Swedish Research Council. It's called How Good is Goodwood? We used to call the wood solution Goodwood, but now it has expanded. Anyway, so the question is, can a novel timber processing business concept save tropical forests? So there are three parts to this. The first one is that we design and validate restorative forest management systems in these somewhat degraded Miombo woodlands. And then we calculate the restoration potential and climate benefits from this restorative forest management, both at concession scale and then if we scale it up across the country or across Miombo woodlands. And then look at the business side of this, and then so see if it really is a more profitable business when we add these value-adding steps and how that contributes to sustainable development. And then we presented that, or I presented that in Tanzania, and they said, okay, that sounds nice, but isn't it really irresponsible to advocate for using more wood when our natural forests are already being over-harvested? And I said, okay, fair point. So we went back and wrote another grant. So this is very much what I introduced in the beginning. So how do we go from where we are today to our desired future? So the idea was that we use the National Forest Inventory to assess forest resources. And then I can show you in this product. So if we take what resources we have today, and then we think about what wood products we can make with the forest resources we have today, and then we think about what products we want in the future, and then manage the forests so that we can create those products in the future, and then step by step build the forest resources and the industry. So then, model the forest dynamics according to the proposed management, and then propose these development pathways. And this is a very, as Aaron says, a little bit philosophical, but very much a collaborative effort between us and whichever country we're working in and all the relevant actors there. So then, the best part of this is future research for the Wood Solution Thailand. And I think that the story, since I like writing grants, the story of this is so good that Bangkok is a large city and it's growing and it needs a lot of green infrastructure as it does so. Thailand also has a huge amount of restoration potential. So this is a zoom in of that World Resources map that Aaron gave earlier. And you can see that the light green, that's mosaic restoration. So that's a lot. That could be agroforestry. It could be some plantations. And we say it could also be a fair bit of natural forest restoration. And we could even use that timber, the timber produced from that, for high-value products. So then, of course, to add on to the story, that if we build in steel and concrete, that's going to have X environmental, climate, and social impact. But if we build in wood, and that wood drives large-scale forest restoration and landscape restoration, then that's going to have a totally different environmental, climate, economic, and social impact. So it's also a huge opportunity. I see Chitiwat. We talked last week, and he says this could be a really big opportunity for sustainable development and growth in Thailand. And then I really think Thailand can be a showcase for the tropical world that this kind of development is possible. And another thing that kept coming up last week in our discussions was that it has to be possible. You know, if we can send people to the moon, we can make mobile phones that have videos, perfect pictures. Like we can, I mean, they're basically computers, video recorders, camera, everything in one. We can definitely do this. We just need to get people interested, and we need the economic incentive behind it. So I have a bit of good news that the grants I have are ongoing, and so I have some financing so we can get started right away. We don't just have to say, hey, it was nice to meet you, maybe we'll collaborate in 5 years. So I can have some co-financing of ongoing projects that would feed into this, maybe with a bit of modification. And then it's really helpful to, start working together right away, get started before we apply for funding, because then we know exactly what we're doing, and we have a head start. And then, of course, it looks very good to have joint publications when we're applying for new funding. So here are some funding sources on the Swedish side that I've identified. So Swedish Research Council, the International Development Agency, Thai Nordic Innovation Fund, the Green Climate Fund. Now that's really big financing, and that would be more on the industrial side, but we have talked to them and they love our idea because it's actually scalable. So anyway, if you can go back to Menti, I'm not going to switch because it's been a disaster so far switching. If you can go back to menti.com and tell me where else you think you could get funding. And then also totally private, so not shared. I just thought if you want to tell me if you have any current projects that could feed into this, and then give me your name and email, and I can follow up with you, and then what area of research or specific ideas you have for future collaboration. And you can do that as the session proceeds. So again, please contact me. I'm going to be available after this workshop, and then I'm always available, my email address, and if you can't remember that, rosagoodman.org has a contact me page, which will also get to me. So thank you so much, and thank you for your participation.
Thank you so much, Dr. Rosa Goodman. ค่ะขออนุญาตสรุปคร่าวๆนะคะ ดร. Rosa Goodman นะคะก็ได้บรรยายเกี่ยวกับสถานภาพปัจจุบันของอุตสาหกรรมไม้นะคะในเขตร้อนนะคะว่าเดิมเนี่ยป่าไม้เนี่ยหลังจากที่ถูกนำมาใช้ประโยชน์นะคะเมื่อเสื่อมโทรมลงเนี่ยก็จะถูกเปลี่ยนสภาพไปให้กลายเป็นพื้นที่เกษตรกรรมนะคะแต่ว่าแนวทางในการดำเนินงานที่เหมาะสมจริงๆเนี่ยก็คือเมื่อป่าไม้ถูกใช้ไปแล้วเนี่ยก็ควรที่จะมีการดำเนินการฟื้นฟูนะคะแล้วก็มีการนำไม้ทุกส่วนนะคะให้กลับมาใช้ประโยชน์ผ่านทางการใช้เทคโนโลยีหรือนวัตกรรมต่างๆนะคะจะเห็นได้ว่าหลังจากที่ได้มีการนำความรู้นะคะเกี่ยวกับ integrated value chain approach มาใช้นะคะเดิมเนี่ยจากการใช้ประโยชน์ป่าไม้ก็จะมี waste หรือว่าของเสียเกิดขึ้นนะคะจะเห็นได้ว่าหลังจากที่มีการนำเทคโนโลยีหรือนวัตกรรมเข้ามาใช้เนี่ยก็เห็นได้ว่าตัว waste ก็จะถูกนำกลับมาใช้ประโยชน์มากขึ้นนะคะเพราะฉะนั้นไม้ทุกส่วนก็จะถูกนำมาใช้ประโยชน์นะคะอีกอันนึงในการดำเนินงานนะคะก็ควรที่จะมีการวิจัยแล้วก็การพัฒนานะคะซึ่งอันนี้เป็นสิ่งที่จำเป็นซึ่งทางดร. Rosa Goodman เนี่ยก็ได้ให้ตัวอย่างนะคะเกี่ยวกับหัวข้อ R&D ที่จำเป็นแล้วก็สำคัญนะคะลำดับต่อไปจะขออนุญาตเปิดเวทีนะคะสำหรับข้อซักถามนะคะสำหรับท่านที่มีข้อซักถามทั้งทางออนไลน์แล้วก็ในห้องประชุมนะคะหากมีข้อซักถามที่อยากจะสอบถามวิทยากรทั้ง3ท่านขอเรียนเชิญค่ะค่ะเชิญค่ะ
ส1 2 3
Hello. Hi, my name is Nattawin Pongpetarat. I'm from the private sector. Thanks a lot for all the presentation. It's very interesting. And I think the Swedish model is, can be a good start for Thailand as well. I have a few questions because you mentioned that it's taking a lot longer to grow the trees in Sweden or in Northern Europe. How long does it take for those trees to be old enough for the production? That is my first questions. And the reason why I'm asking that because I can see that Thailand has a great potential to develop the plantation and develop the forest management and timber industries, because Thailand used to be one of the countries that export a lot of timber in the past. But the last 30 years, since the government used a very protective government policies to try to protect the forest, but it seems that it might not be working out well. So the last 4 years, the government has changed their policies to try to drive the economic value, allow the people to grow the trees and then allow them to cut the trees. Or even if they have valuable trees in their own lands, then they can use those trees to create value added. So what we can see is that if Thailand has so much potential in terms of the location, we are in the tropical area, so the tree can grow fast. We have historically the potential of developing value added in terms of making furniture, making wood products for export and also even for local use. So I try to reckon what will be the economic values in terms of developing these forest product development in Thailand. And one of the key issues is also, since we only have around 31% of the forest area in the countries, and we would like to drive to 40% or even more. So it means that we're going to have a few millions of hectares of available land to grow the forest. So that can be a very good opportunities for Thailand to develop these timber industries. Thank you.
I think we'd have to do some research together to get the total value of forests. But I really think that the potential is fairly endless. And I'm so glad that you see that. And one of the things that I've been talking about recently is that a lot of countries have put a ban on natural forest management. And it makes perfect sense, given the past. And it probably, was a good thing to protect the few remaining forests at the time. But now we're coming into a new era, and maybe we need to update that. And I know that Thailand has a policy to increase their forest cover. So that's the kind of thing where I love finding that opportunity and support, and then finding solutions that work from the bottom up. It doesn't totally answer your question, but thank you.
I could maybe add something to the value. I mean, for the Swedish industry to start further and further processing the sawn goods, the value of the timber is more than doubled for those products. And also the companies, they make the margin twice on the same, because since the sawmilling is integrated in the company, at first they have a margin on the sawn products and then margin for the finished product. So it's a really good business.
Oh, okay, and your first question about the growth time, depending on where in Sweden, because it's a long country, just like Thailand. In the north, it's 100 years, or 120. In the south, it could be 70 years, depending a little bit on 70, yeah. And I can just also say something, a little comment about the industry structure now, because during the past, I don't know, 70, 80 years, Swedish forest industry has, as Anna-Lena said, been very dominated by paper and pulp and export but now we see that the structure is changing. So the industry sees that the construction side is very valuable, and newspapers is not so common anymore. So we see plants being closed down for pulp and paper side, and new plants being built up for wood construction. So that's the trend, and it's of course from economic considerations.
So we have done a theoretical analysis, or we've done some analysis on the forest value. And if you manage natural forests, you can more than double your productivity, so the growth rates, but then you also increase the quality and the value, so that together you can increase your forest values by 10-fold. So there's a lot of potential. And then of course when you process it, if you saw, I had the figure with the pie charts and bar charts, and in the current in the integrated industry, the margins were 3 times more. So we're talking several orders of magnitude, not just a little bit better, but a lot better. Yeah, and keeping, maintaining and bringing back diversity, especially of those high value species that have been over harvested in the past.
Thank you. We actually see a lot of potential, because especially if you guys say that it will take at least 70 years up to 120 years to rebuild, to grow the forest, and then can cut and then use it. And Sweden has been doing it for the last almost 100 years, right? Yeah. So what we can see for Thailand, we have been working closely with Federation of Thai Industries and also the Royal Thai government as well. We were sharing the idea of if we need to build around 4 million hectares of forest area, yeah, and if we split into, let's say, 20 species and try to develop the market for different species. Of course, Thailand has been known for teak, and it's very, very famous. But there are many other species as well, which might have a shorter lifespan that we can shorten. Instead of teak, it might take between 20 to 30 years with the proper management. Yeah, but maybe a few other species, which it can be around 10 to 15 years, that can be harvested and can be developed into other products. For example, my company, we are doing finished products like flooring, door frame, furniture, and we know that the value added compared to the tree itself at least is 6 to 8 times. Yeah, and it doesn't have to be that the people have to develop up to the level where the business is doing. But what if they are setting up a small community together, and then running a simple sawmill, running a Q-dry, making into a simple construction material products that can be used for the local, that can easily increase the value for 2 to 3 times easily without adding a lot of troublesome. But of course, it will create a lot of value. So what we've been pitching is also, we probably have to develop a few industries, like what you mentioned, the construction is a big opportunities. Of course, export in the future. Sweden has done a lot of export, yeah. But at the same time, if we can develop a tropical hardwood and make into a different species, we might be able to develop few other industry at the same time. So that was what we have been working on. Dr. Suwan from the Royal Thai government might have something to add, because we've been working together on few projects at the moment, and we hope that Sonda has a very good business model, which we are very interested in exploring more. It can be a good model for Thailand to adjust a little bit and then adapt to suit the Thai environment.
Okay, thank you, Kun Eng. Well, actually, yesterday we already talked a little bit in the seminar. As I mentioned, we try to develop the whole supply chain. Yes, so what we like to do, I think now we should get started with something to do with the company to get started with the some kind of wood city. So this is the first step that I think we should go on. And one more thing that I got from your slide, you mentioned about low value products. You mentioned about CLT and GLT. I wonder about what about the veneer product? What is that possible also? I don't see in your slide veneer making veneer, yes. How is this kind of product? Is that possible? What is the limitation that you didn't mention about the veneer products? This is one thing that we can develop for Thai wood product also. Okay.
Yes, thank you. Of course, the laminated veneer lumber or plywood products are also common in the Nordics, and depending on what type of veneering procedure, if it's I don't know the word in English if it's cut or if it's peeled, then you need different types of woods, of course. In the Nordics, most of the production of plywood is in Finland. So we have more or less an internal market in the Nordic countries. So that is why otherwise we could have that as also in Sweden and have had. So it's a common development. In Finland, you also make plywood from birch, and in Sweden we don't have that much birch. We don't have the biggest birch sawmills. So I suppose this would be a good opportunity for your country to explore different species for plywood and LVL and these products. But I guess that you have already started this development in the university.
Okay, thank you very much. And my department, the faculty forest product department. Okay, my staff in my department have to the research to the veneer to the make to the LVL, LVL for to the construction, and maybe have to Gulam and CLT for the construction, and use to the small lot and small timber. Yet now have in the show that is the front of my department. I have made Gulam. Is the size, the dimension is wide 20 inch by 20 inch. It's long 6 meters. Its test is to the maximum load. It's 8 tons. And I use to the small teak plantation. It's long about 30 centimeters. After finish, I can show you to my department. Okay, thank you very much.
ค่ะขอบคุณสำหรับคำถามจากทุกท่านเลยนะคะ เรามาถึงช่วงสุดท้ายนะคะของการบรรยายพิเศษนะคะจะเป็นการบรรยายพิเศษในหัวข้อ Thailand and its readiness to adapt to the high value wood industry with innovation โดยผู้ช่วยศาสตราจารย์ดร.วิวัฒน์หานวงศ์จิรวัฒน์จากภาควิชาวรรณผลิตภัณฑ์ขอเรียนเชิญค่ะ Ladies and gentlemen, we are going to continue our last section with fourth keynote speaker in the topic of Thailand and its readiness to adapt to the high-value wood industry with innovation. Please welcome Assistant Professor Dr. Viwat Hanwong Jirawat from Department of Forest Product.
Good morning again, everybody. Today I would like to introduce our Faculty of Forestry and just focus on forest product and utilization in our faculty. Thailand and its readiness adapt to the high-value wood industry and innovation. Department of Forest Product, Faculty of Forestry, เกษตรศาสตร์ University. What are we learning? When we finish from this forest product department, we got a lecturer degree of science and in forestry, not in forest products, in forestry. And after we finish, we can go work in the government service or the private sector. For example, pulp and paper technology, MDF industry, particle board, or anything. For the study program, we study two branches. We have two branches, pulp and paper technology and wood science technology. For the first and second semester, we learn about basic science. And after that, of the third year, we can choose, or the student can choose to study in silviculture or the forest biology, forest management, and forest product. We have 6 departments here. Forest conservation. I mentioned already the working opportunity. Our laboratory, we have laboratory or building nearby here. And this building too, we have laboratory. And we have more building for the laboratory. That means forest product is very big in our faculty of forestry. Big. We have this for machining, for sawmill processing. This is for pulp and paper technology. The big wood processing, wood preservation, and paper making. We have the small machine for the paper making. We became for SCG, and this is for wood energy. This is for nanocellulose. Paper testing room and wood testing room, universal testing machine. This is a machine from Germany over 50 years. In that time, we got the fund from the World Bank. Then we can set up for wood chemistry and wood deterioration. We just have a small for testing bending strength, not so big, just small for. Then we test with the small clear specimen from ASTM or the EN standard or ISO, just only small. We have laser, energy testing, wood chemistry. Example for research work of the Department of Forest Product. Research related to the protection and preservation of wood and wood destroying in fungi and insects. This is very important for the topic of wood that the mention from the president said he viewed how we think, but the problem is the termite. Because termite is in the ground, we cannot see it. And here You see food resource, your house is food resource. Nah? This for termite and insect. They say, kin go eat. We prepare breeding container and prepare termite for experimental. Dr. Kittipong will set up the laboratory for testing for the termites, especially in the next time. But sometimes the termite will eat our building too, after we set the laboratory already. I think, okay, yeah, we prepare. This is the problem, the big problem in Thailand. If you want to build a construction in Thailand with wood, you must thinking about this problem. How? And how when damage operation, this is for laboratory, nah? For the termite. This is the food of termite, wood. The food of termite, if you building. And then we study about natural deterioration of bamboo. After we use bamboo for the shoreline erosion, then we study about the deterioration and how prevent it. This is survey. This is white lot, soft lot, and collection the sample and fungi found in the research area. Research related to tree planting promotion analysis of investment in business model canvas. We make in the Thailand, we can separate into the three groups of the model of business. I am not go to in the detail now. I just go to the big. If we would like to say the information that we make it already come. I say the first group is long-term economic, long-term wood economic. What does it mean long-term? That's the same you said 100 years old of the tree. We have the tree to more than 30 years old. It's now it teak wood is from our part, like that. FIO, forestry, forest organization industry, from FIO. Let's reduce to 30 years. The first 15 years they cut for the thinning, and they use, and then 20 years for thinning again, and after 30 years they cut or cutting. This is for the long-term wood economy. The second group is for middle term group. For example, for acacia group, they go fast. They go very fast. Eucalyptus. You can use eucalyptus 6-year-old, 8-year-old. The 3 to 4-year-old for pulp and paper. And after 6 or the 8-year-old, you can use eucalyptus. And the commercial wood in Thailand, I think that for my opinion, for the commercial wood for a short to middle term, is a rubber wood. The 2 is eucalyptus. The 3 is teak from thinning teak, thinned teak. This is the second group. The model is a economic forest in private land deed, in private land deed that you can grow. That means we must promotion in private land. Now, if you have the land, not make anything, you must pay for tax. Pay for tax. About 15%, I think. กี่เปอร์เซ็นต์นะวันนั้นผมโดนเก็บ 1,500 บาท มีอยู่แค่100 ตารางวา 1,500 บาทเขาเก็บ 3% ใช่ไหม 3% you must pay for tax. Value of tax, how many of value of tax, then you pay 3%. If you don't use to make anything in your land. นะ This is it. Related to experimental product of engineering composite in Thailand. We have the industry in Thailand, particle board, MDF, plywood, and more wet process we have to hard board. But for the engineer wood or construction wood, no anymore, just make for only furniture. I try to make that, but no people know. I try to make that for the construction wood with glue lamp or CLT. Here is CLT, na? Who is not haven't seen CLT? You can show here. This CLT from eucalyptus we make from our laboratory. We make from just for the handmade, the finger joint and then gluing, connecting, laminate in the long direction, and then in the width, and then place again. Nah, okay. Eucalyptus wood composite panel, engineer wood, LVL, you know already. You did cut OSL. We have not two. In Thailand, we have not OSL. For the construction of Gulam, we have not two. The raw material that Dr. Songkot, he project for the rubber wood, mango wood, durian wood. You know durian. Durian, the king of fruit. Smell not good, but delicious. If you are the summer of Thailand, you can try it. You can smell not good. And for my opinion, this mango and durian is for agriculture, for agriculture. But the wood, this eucalyptus and rubber wood and teak wood is the commercial wood. For the wood that can you make for the mass in Thailand. And glue we use indoor for EPI. Outdoor we must use PU, polyurethane. But polyurethane cannot produce in Thailand now. We must export from Vietnam. If we have the wood building for construction, I think we can produce the PU in Thailand. This is a glue laminated timber. I don't know you know what is the glue laminated timber. Glue laminated timber that you use the solid wood laminate parallel to longitudinal. Across laminated timber that you laminated wood cross grain, the same plywood, but this you use solid wood, but plywood you use veneer. That is different. Now I am lecture you. No, nah? This is the production line to timber, then clean dyeing, that you must clean dyeing straight. Here, we done finger joint, make it finger joint and planning glue application. Nah? Glue line is come to glue lamp. Now we have not wood construction, we have not now in Thailand. Just only Betong Airport. Betong Airport. Make with the wood construction, Betong Airport. You can find Betong Airport. That the problem with wood construction is not just only termite, insect, but fire. Fire retardant, you must impregnate with fire retardant to against a fire or reduce the time to burn the wood. Reduce the time to burn the wood. But better than steel, because when steel receive more temperature than the construction immediately, destroy. Okay, research involves the use of small, fast-growing plants such as bamboo. Bamboo is the people is non-timber. Bamboo is non-timber. Non-timber is a giant grass. We know giant. 2 years we can use it. Bamboo, 2 years. We make many things. Wood pellet, activated carbon, or anything we can use with the bamboo. For the construction, sometimes for the construction too. For example, in South Africa, use bamboo for the construction. Yeah, this is construction from bamboo. Nice, nah? That's difficult. This is construction from bamboo. This is for example. Bamboo is they have a vascular boundary. For the longitudinal, it's very good strength, but for the shear, it's not good because they have not the lay. They have not wood lay. Research involving use of high quality teak timber for wood products. In Thailand, have many. You see in Thailand, how does the quality of the teak? Okay, but yeah. If you see the teak, the plantation from satellite emergency total, we have 70 provinces. That Thailand have 77 provinces, but the teak plantation is distributed to 70 provinces. Total about 217 hectares. Survey tip from the request of legislation for the legislation. Total 72 province, about 180 hectares. Natural teak for conservation. Now we cannot use natural teak because it's forbidden for the cut from the natural teak. We must plant only plantation. Just only FIO have so many teak plantation. What is it? Okay, if you want to find us, okay. If you use the, everybody know, we want to go to BCG model to SDG. After BCG to SDG, but the policy about wood utilization is a little, just only for the biomass energy. Biomass energy, the private sector okay with biomass energy because it is very easy. The processing, they have just only gasification and then burn easier. Nah? But you must show that if you make the building construction value added, how many value added, how much? That is, if you want to the private to investment in the building construction, you must say where is the market. Where is the market is very important. You know everything process, but where is the market? Nah. Okay, for my presentation, I don't know. I am very serious because we talk about wood building for a long time, not just only today, for a long time. But when we talk about investment, private sector, sometimes if you come, it's good. Nah? Sometimes you have a cooperation with the big money and you can say where is the market. If you can answer this, go. You can go. Okay, thank you very much.
ค่ะขอบคุณ ดร.วิวัฒน์ หานวงศ์จิรวัฒน์นะคะ Thank you Assistant Professor Dr. วิวัฒน์ หานวงศ์ for sharing your
ครับ ใครจะมาดูคอร์ส Laminated Timber ถ้ายังไม่เคยเห็นก็ลองดูครับ
ค่ะสุดท้ายนี้ต้องขอบพระคุณนะคะท่านผู้เข้าร่วมฟังบรรยายพิเศษทุกท่านนะคะก็ขอเรียนเชิญทุกท่านนะคะร่วมรับประทานอาหารกลางวันร่วมกันบริเวณชั้น1นะคะแล้วเราก็จะมีการพูดคุยนะคะเกี่ยวกับความร่วมมือกันด้วยระหว่างรับประทานอาหารนะคะ Finally on behalf of เกษตรศาสตร์ University we would like to thank all for the attendants to join our special lectures. All the attendants are welcome to join the lunch break and we will discuss about the collaboration during the lunch break. Thank you. The lunch break we will serve on the first floor of this building, please. สุดท้ายนี้ขอเรียนเชิญคุณดลวีค่ะกล่าวขอบคุณค่ะขอบคุณค่ะ
Just a moment. Can have something that I would like to talk on behalf of the Royal Thai Embassy in Stockholm. I would like to say thank you to เกษตรศาสตร์ University for allowing us having a kind of special presentation from the Swedish friends to present you about the idea of how to do like sustainable forestry in Thailand. And also I would like to say thank you to all the Swedish friends here, Aaron, Annalena and Rosa for giving a very special and interesting presentation and also inspiring us on how we can move forward our countries towards a sustainable forestry. And I have to say that before we plan to organize the event, this is a week-long event, and I talked to our team, our Swedish friend, that it would be very good idea to organize an event here at เกษตรศาสตร์ University because we think that it is very important to start at the academia. Everything starts from education. Start from like we create policy. We have to talk with universities how we can have a proper and effective policy towards forestry and sustainability. And also if we talk about creating a kind of R&D or make added value to supply chain or to the wood or to timber, we have to talk with university because it's R&D place that people come together and do the research and make things happen. So that's why we decide to come here at the university. And I have to thank all of you and the เกษตรศาสตร์ University for make it happen. And Of course, we mentioned about funding. We mentioned about collaboration. I think it is possible because, as we mentioned, there's a lot of things that we have to do. We have to create ecosystem, and in order to create ecosystem, we need to have a kind of many aspects that we have to work, that we have to study, that we have to invest in order to create it happen. Like SERDRA, someone mentioned about SERDRA. If we want to have that kind of organization, we have to study. We have to study. We have to make a research. What is the best SERDRA structure in Thailand? We need to translate that structure into Thai context. So this is why เกษตรศาสตร์ University is very important. And also, if we want to make like timber, Thai timber, to be a part of the industrial building in order to build wood construction, we also need to research on what type of timber can be used in this kind of industry. So it is very important to have เกษตรศาสตร์ here. Thank you very much, and I hope that we can further our collaboration between the Thai Embassy in Stockholm, the university, เกษตรศาสตร์ University, and also the Swedish side. Thank you.
ค่ะขอเรียนเชิญทุกท่านรับประทานอาหารร่วมกันนะคะที่บริเวณชั้น 1 ค่ะขอบคุณค่ะ